Mister, can you try smiling? You look like you've never done it before. I nearly dropped my coffee. Standing in front of me was a tiny girl, no older than 7, her blonde pigtails bouncing as she grinned up at me. In her small hands was a plate holding what appeared to be a severely burnt cookie. I blinked at her, then at the cookie, then back at her again. Who are you? I muttered. I'm Emily. I live next door now, she declared proudly. And I made this for you. She shoved the cookie toward me like it was a prized possession. I peered at it. The thing was black as coal, with jagged edges that suggested it had barely survived the oven. No thanks, I said flatly, taking a step back toward my porch. Emily gasped as if I had just rejected a royal feast. You have to take it. It's my welcome gift. I don't do welcome gifts. She studied me for a long moment, then nodded as if coming to an important conclusion. You don't do smiling either, huh? I sighed. Kid, why? She interrupted, tilting her head. My grip tightened on my coffee mug. I wasn't a man of many words, especially not for nosy children. Years ago, I had been different. I used to laugh, used to welcome people into my home. But that was before life chipped away at me, before I lost my wife, before my children grew up and moved far away. Now, I enjoyed my solitude. No noise. No nonsense. Just me, my books, and my morning coffee. And now, this tiny intruder. Emily didn't seem discouraged by my silence. Instead, she carefully placed the plate on my porch railing, dusted her hands off, and clapped them together. Okay, I'll come back later to see if you eat it. Before I could protest, she spun around and skipped away, humming a tune so off-key that even the birds seemed to stop chirping in shock. I shook my head. Kids these days. I left the cookie untouched. The next morning, as I stepped onto my porch with my usual coffee, I was met with an unsettling sight. Emily was already there, sitting on my front steps like she owned the place. She beamed at me. Morning, Mr. Henry. I nearly dropped my mug for the second time in 2 days. How do you know my name? Emily rolled her eyes. I asked Mom. She says you're our neighbor, but you don't talk to anyone. So I decided I'll talk to you instead. Wonderful. Just what I needed, a tiny detective with a big mouth. Emily patted the step next to her. So, what do you do all day? I considered lying, saying something intimidating like I train wolves or I work for the CIA. But knowing my luck, she'd probably ask for a demonstration. Not much, I admitted. She grinned. Perfect. Then you have time to be my friend. I nearly choked on my coffee. Listen, kid, I sighed, rubbing my forehead. I'm not looking for friends. Emily gasped as if I had just told her Santa Claus wasn't real. Not even one? Nope. She frowned in concentration. Then, with the determination of a soldier going into battle, she announced, Then I'll be your first. And just like that, my peaceful life was over. Emily was relentless. Ignoring her was useless. If I scowled, she just scowled back. Only hers looked more like a confused puppy than an actual frown. One afternoon, she showed up with a drawing. I made this for you. I glanced at the paper. It was a chaotic mess of colors, featuring what looked like a cat, if the cat had been electrocuted and then rolled through a crayon factory. It's you and me, Emily explained proudly. I squinted. Which one is me? She pointed to the lumpier figure. The one frowning. Of course. I sighed. Thanks. Emily beamed. You're welcome. Now you have to put it on your fridge. I don't put things on my fridge. Then put it on your wall. I shook my head. Emily, unfazed, simply taped it to my door instead. The next day she brought jokes. Why did the scarecrow win an award? She asked, bouncing on her heels. I don't know, I muttered. Because he was outstanding in his field. I stared at her. She giggled. Get it? I got it, I said flatly. But she wasn't giving up. Okay. What's a pirate's favorite letter? I sighed. R? She gasped dramatically. No. It's the C. Because they love the sea. I groaned. Kid, you're gonna put me in an early grave. She laughed like that was the best thing she had ever heard. Then, one afternoon, she took things to the next level. I stepped outside to find her sitting on my porch with a tiny chair. What are you doing? I asked, narrowing my eyes. Emily grinned. I'm not leaving until you smile. I blinked. Excuse me? She nodded firmly. Today's mission, make Mr. Henry smile. I crossed my arms. And what if I don't? She shrugged. Then I'll sit here forever. I sighed. You're stubborn. I know. She sat there. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. Humming. Swinging her legs. Looking at me expectantly. Fine. If she wanted a smile, I'd give her the worst one possible. I stretched my face into the most exaggerated, forced grin I could manage. Emily gasped. Then, to my utter shock, she burst out laughing. What's so funny? I demanded. You look like an owl that just ate a lemon. She cackled. I scowled. Great. Now I regret it. But Emily was still giggling, eyes shining with delight. That was the best thing ever. You should do it more often. I turned away, but for the first time in a long while, I felt something warm in my chest. Maybe, just maybe, this little troublemaker wasn't so bad after all. For the first time in years, I found myself waiting. Not for the mail. Not for the morning newspaper. Not for the neighbor's dog to stop barking. I was waiting for Emily. But she didn't come. At first, I told myself it was a blessing. A day of peace. No terrible jokes. No off-key humming. No tiny detective interrogating me about my life. But as the hours passed, an unfamiliar feeling crept in, something unsettling. I told myself not to care. Kids got bored easily. She probably found someone else to annoy. Yet, when another day passed and Emily still hadn't appeared, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I worried. By the third day, my house felt different. Quieter, yes, but not in the comforting way I had always enjoyed. It felt empty. Every morning, I caught myself glancing toward her house, expecting to see her running toward me with some ridiculous joke or another questionable drawing. But there was nothing. The silence was louder than I expected. That afternoon, as I was pouring my usual cup of coffee, I caught my reflection in the kitchen window. My face was drawn, my usual frown deeper than ever. And for the first time, I wondered, had I really been as lifeless as Emily had claimed? The thought unsettled me. By the evening, I had had enough. I grabbed my coat and marched across the yard to Emily's house. When her mother opened the door, she looked surprised to see me. "Oh, Mr. Henry," she said, blinking. "This is unexpected." I hesitated, suddenly feeling foolish. What was I even doing here? I cleared my throat. Haven't seen Emily around. Her smile faded. She's been sick. A fever. The doctor said she just needs rest, but she's miserable being stuck inside. I shifted uncomfortably. The idea of Emily, bouncy, talkative, full of life Emily, being quiet and bedridden felt wrong. I hesitated, then lifted the small bowl in my hands. I made some soup. Emily's mother's eyes softened. "That's very kind of you, Mr. Henry." "It's just soup," I muttered. She led me inside, guiding me to Emily's room. The little girl was curled up in bed, her face pale and her usual energy missing. But when she saw me, her eyes widened. "Mr. Henry?" she croaked. "You came?" I shifted. "Well, yeah. Someone had to make sure you weren't faking." Emily giggled weakly. "I'm not faking." I held up the bowl. "Brought you something." She gasped like I had just handed her a treasure chest. "You made me soup." I coughed. "Don't make a big deal out of it." Emily slowly sat up, a small smile tugging at her lips. "This is the best day ever." I frowned. "Because of soup?" She shook her head. "Because you came to see me." I wasn't sure how to respond to that. Emily took a small sip of the soup, then looked up at me with an expression so serious it made me nervous. "Mr. Henry," she whispered, "can I tell you a secret?" I nodded. "My birthday is in 2 days," she said, "and I already made my wish." I braced myself. Knowing Emily, it was probably something ridiculous like a pet unicorn or an unlimited supply of bubblegum. "What is it?" I asked. Her smile softened. "I wish that you'd smile for me. A real one." I froze. This little girl, the same one who had spent weeks annoying me with jokes and drawings, had used her birthday wish on something as simple as me being happy. I had no words. So I just sat there, holding her small hand in mine. And for the first time in years, I felt something shift inside me. Something warm. Something human. Something I had forgotten existed. 2 days later, I found myself in a place I never thought I'd be. Emily's birthday party. Crowds weren't my thing. Cake wasn't my thing. Socializing definitely wasn't my thing. But then I thought about Emily. Her feverish little face. Her birthday wish. And somehow that was enough. So there I was, standing awkwardly in their backyard, surrounded by balloons, children, and way too much noise. Emily spotted me instantly. "Mr. Henry!" she shrieked, barreling toward me at full speed. I barely had time to brace myself before she wrapped her arms around my waist. "You came?" Yeah, I muttered, patting her head. "Don't make a big deal out of it." She pulled back, grinning. "Are you gonna smile for me today?" I sighed dramatically. "Pushy, aren't you?" She just beamed. The party went on, kids running, parents chatting, laughter filling the air. I kept to the sidelines, but strangely I didn't mind. Then came the moment of truth. Emily's mother brought out the cake, and everyone sang. Emily closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and made her wish. When she opened her eyes, she turned straight to me. "Mr. Henry," she whispered, eyes hopeful. I groaned. "You really won't let this go, will you?" She shook her head eagerly. I sighed. Then slowly I let my face relax. Not forced. Not exaggerated. A real smile. Emily gasped so loudly that even the other kids turned to stare. "You did it!" she squealed, jumping up and down. "You smiled." The other kids started clapping. As if I had just performed a magic trick. Parents chuckled. Even Emily's mother wiped a tear. I felt ridiculous. But I also felt lighter. Emily grabbed my hand. "Best birthday ever." And for the first time in years, I believed her. After that, things changed. I still liked my peace and quiet, but I no longer dreaded hearing knocks on my door. I still read my books, but sometimes I read them out loud to Emily. I still drank my morning coffee, but now I drank it with the terrible drawings she gave me hanging proudly on my fridge. And I still wasn't great at jokes, but I tried telling Emily one anyway. "Why did the old man smile?" I asked her one day. She gasped. "I don't know." "Why?" I looked at her, my heart full in a way I never expected. "Because a little girl taught him how." Emily shrieked with laughter, hugging me tight. And just like that, I knew this little troublemaker had changed my life forever.